Every now and then I have a craving for something from my childhood, something nostalgic, and last week I cooked a big Tamil feast, my favorite food to eat, which we call in Tamil Kalyana Sapadu. Sapadu is food and Kalyanam is a wedding. My uncle told me that this is the term for wedding, for that type of food. Rice and then a real large assortment of all kinds of vegetable curries and lime pickle on the side and papadums. So I cooked all this food. I think I spent 3 hours cooking. I put it down on the plate. I ate it. I thought, oh, my Kalyana Sapadu. And then a couple hours later, I think it was like midnight, I had another craving. I had a craving for the end of the wedding. Every Tamil wedding that I've been to ends with a dessert, a very traditional dessert called Payasam. And that's what I'm going to show you how to make today. So I got up off the couch, came into the kitchen, and at midnight made Payasam. So this is something that I think people living alone, or if you live in a family and you have these thoughts, you can often dismiss the thought, thinking it's not worth making this thing for one person. Why go through all the trouble just for one person? I live alone, and I say that's all the more reason to do it. Do it just for one person. Just because it's you and just because it's not the whole family, it doesn't mean that it doesn't warrant taking out the pots and pans, gathering the ingredients, going to the grocery store, and cooking something very special just to satiate your own craving or desire. That act of self-care is something that I've been cultivating for years, and I do encourage everybody to do that. That's what makes your life better on a day-to-day basis, listening to that and doing it just for you. So I made the payasam, and it was absolutely divine, and I've been making it kind of frequently since, like a few times a week. I'm going to show you how to make it exactly the way my mom made it. Payasam is a kind of rice pudding, and this is a very traditional South Indian dessert, but there are versions of this all over Asia. Sometimes it's made with rice, but payasam is made with something called sago. And sago pearls, real sago pearls, are made from the sago palm tree. But that is actually extremely difficult to find today. What you find more often in Indian stores and Tamil grocery stores are sago seed. That's what it says on the packet. But they're not actually made from the pith of the sago palm tree. They're made from cassava. They're tapioca pearls, and that's what these are. I have not been able to find real sago seeds. So if anyone out there actually knows a credible source for real sago pearls, please let me know, because I would be intrigued to find where I can source them. So these are the sago seeds, the tapioca pearls. They're small, they're white, and they need to be boiled. And they need to boil for quite a while. They take about 15-20 minutes. So I'm not going to cook all of these. I don't really measure. I have, I don't know, 2 cups of water here. And I'm putting in about a 1/4 cup of sago seeds, sago pearls. And I'm going to increase the heat, and those are just going to boil. Now, as they boil, they're going to plump up, and they're going to become clear in color. And you want the sago to be completely translucent. That's when it's cooked fully, like it's cooked all the way through. So that's going to take a little while. While that's boiling, I'm going to prepare the addition of one flavoring. So the payasam has one sort of subtle flavor, and that's cardamom seeds. So I'm going to put about 5 cardamom pods into my mortar and pestle, and my mom would just sort of hit the shell until the seeds are released. and then she would put this into that boiling liquid. And then what's going to happen is the cardamom pods and the seeds are going to really flavor this in a subtle way. There are many different ways of making payasam, and I'm extremely biased. I think my mom's payasam was the best for my whole life. Hers was the standard, and we would sometimes go to functions, every sort of traditional function. If they had a vegetarian meal laid out, it would end with payasam, and usually the guests you would hear people say, "Nella payasam," nice payasam, or they would just make little faces, and I became one of those people. The payasam was sometimes just way too thick, it was almost like jam, which was just gross. Often it was way too thin. It was just like a tea, the consistency of tea with just a few sago pearls in it. Sometimes it was weirdly colored, like with food coloring. One of the traditional ways of flavoring payasam is to add saffron threads. So genuine saffron threads add a color, but also a flavor. And another way of flavoring the payasam is sweetening it with traditional sugars. So what I have here are the two types of sugar that are extremely traditional in South Indian and Sri Lankan cooking. And both of these came from Sri Lanka. This is Jaggery, and Jaggery is an unrefined sugar. This Jaggery comes from the sugar cane. So the juice is extracted, boiled, and then dried into a cake. It's very hard. I tried breaking this with a hammer and it wouldn't break. The only way to sort of take the sugar off is to scrape it off with a knife, which is a very dangerous procedure, but that's what I do. And then this Jaggery, which always makes me smile, is from the palm tree. This is the palm treacle that has been collected, boiled, and then put into these little cups that are made of the palm leaves. The ladies take the palm leaves, dry them out, weave them into these, and it has to be woven into this little basket shape. And then while the treacle is still warm, they pour it into here, they allow it to cool, and it hardens. And to use this, you kind of have to break this, these palm leaves off. So this is disposable. This is the sort of thing that it just makes my heart sing when I think of how ubiquitous plastic is and how it's everywhere. It's the packaging everywhere. Everything you buy, you have to take the plastic off, throw it in the garbage. That plastic is not going anywhere. Recycling. Like recycling. I don't know how much I believe about how much is actually recycled, but regardless of all of that, when I talk to my older relatives about how things used to be in Sri Lanka, there was no plastic when they were growing up. Nothing came in plastic, and seeing this is a vestige of that world. You don't need plastic. This is really beautiful. So my mom never actually used Jaggery for sweetening the payasam, but you can. This was really the traditional way. Jaggery and also coconut milk. Coconut milk was added to the payasam, but she didn't do that. So let's go back to this. You can see it's starting to get kind of cloudy. And it might seem like there's a lot of water in here now, but you really do need all that water because it gets absorbed into the tapioca pearls. Now, at this stage, I add something else. I add this right here. So this is they're broken up pieces of a vermicelli noodle that is called Semiya, Semiya. It's a wheat noodle. It comes in little packets in the Tamil store. Sometimes it's hard to find. You can use like a really thin pasta, like capelletti. I think you could just use that, break it up. I think it's the same thing. I've never done that. I've always had Semiya. So I don't like to put a lot of this in. That was another criticism of mine. Sometimes there would be too much Semiya in the payasam and it was like pasta in it. This is sort of just like a little addition, like a sort of a garnish almost. So I'm gonna put in, like half a teaspoon of Semiya. Just a little bit. And I'm putting it in at this stage because it doesn't take as long to cook as the tapioca pearls. So, while that's boiling, I prepare the other things that are going to go into the payasam. I need my cutting board, and I need to go into my favorite cupboard in my kitchen. Every time I open this cupboard, I feel like I'm looking at a nice painting of something beautiful. And what I love about this cupboard is that it's like a living piece of art. And I say it's like a living piece of art because it changes. Like as I use the things, the quantities change. And then sometimes when something gets emptied, I put another thing in it. So this doesn't stay the same. Like this, these are the lentils that I found at Patel Brothers, that huge bag of lentils that was like a third of the price of lentils here in Manhattan. Look at that lovely, beautiful, large mason jar full of masoor dal. It's a thing of beauty. Okay, so the two things that we add to the payasam when it's almost finished as kind of a garnish are raisins, golden raisins, and cashews. So these are raw cashews. We're going to do a couple things to them. For this amount of payasam, I'm going to put about that much cashews in there. Get a little knife, and my mom always split them in half like this so that you had a real piece, like not a tiny piece of cashew, but and it was a beautiful shape too. So that's the other thing about the payasam, the way my mom made it. It was pretty, like it looked nice. And if you put the knife right in the center of the cashew, it will split it perfectly lengthwise in half. So I just do this while the sago is boiling because I want to have it all ready. I'm going to get out my raisins as well and put them on the board just so it's prepped. I like to really use my time wisely when I'm cooking. Like when something's going, I'm doing something else. What does Alexandra say? My friend Alexandra says, if there's time to lean, there's time to clean. She and I are very good together in the kitchen when I visit them in Rhode Island. She's cooking and I'm cleaning, or I'm cooking and she's cleaning, but that's another thing. I feel like one of the worst things about a wonderful meal is when you finish and then you walk into the kitchen and it's just a huge mess. Like, it's one thing to have dishes in the sink, but to have like kitchen rags everywhere and splashes and stuff on the floor and then to see that after enjoying this wonderful meal is a negative visual to a positive sensation in your mouth, in your belly. So I always try to clean up, like, wash things, put them away, wipe them. Just makes it nicer. So, raisins, cashews, those are prepped, but we're going to do something to them. This is coming along very nicely. Come have a look. The sago, so I'm using the term sago and tapioca pearls interchangeably, but they really are tapioca pearls. Do you see how the little white center has diminished in size? That's because as it cooks, that's going to disappear. So this is good. Keep going. Now, next step. Where is it? Oh. Remember this? This is why I bought that thing. This is what this is traditionally used for. Hold on, schmutz. Okay, so I have my little pan on a low flame, and I need a little bit of, so the pan's on a low flame, and I need a little bit of ghee. Ghee is clarified butter, a staple in any Indian kitchen. This is also something that flavors the payasam. So this will add a very subtle flavor to the payasam. And I'm putting, about a half teaspoon of ghee into my karai. I'm going to use the Tamil word, into my tachi. And so this, look what happens. The ghee melts. I'm going to wait for it to really get hot. Have a look at this. There's one more thing I add to this. Oh, I did forget something. So you do want to add a good healthy pinch of salt. It needs salt, like to bring out the flavor of everything. So don't forget the salt. I almost forgot the salt. It looks so good already. Okay, but this is going to change. So now I'm going to add my cashews to the ghee. Okay. A little Spurtle. This was made for me by one of the Coopers at Pioneer Village. I think I was 16 years old, and he was blonde, and his name was David. And I had a big fat crush on David. just to talk to him, I asked him, "Oh, hey, can you make me a Spurtle?" It's like, "Sure, Rajiv, of course." And he made this for me. It's funny, every single time, this is like a long time ago, but every time I use it, I think of that boy. Wonder where he is now. Okay, cashews. Now the raisins go in. They kind of toast. They should have a little bit of color on them. Maybe I put a little too much color on them. Turn the heat down. The raisins will plump up. Okay, that's pretty good. Good, that's all. I'm going to turn this off. I think I toasted this a little too much. They shouldn't be that dark. Do this gently. Don't do this while you're filming a YouTube episode. Focus. Okay, one more thing goes into here. Let's see here. This is what I want. Nope, that's cranberry sauce. So it's the other one. This is what... Yeah. Condensed milk. I usually always have condensed milk in the fridge. I open the can up, I use it for something, and then I pour it into a container, and then it lasts a very long time. So my mom sweetened the payasam with condensed milk, not with jaggery. So, you know, this can be made with water, and then milk can be added, and jaggery can be added, or coconut milk and jaggery, or milk and white sugar. Or so really, you can do your own combination of whatever you'd like, but my mom put condensed milk in here, and she added sugar. But I don't like this to be extremely sweet, so for my taste, and I used to ask her to make this for me when I would visit her in Toronto. So those, sorry, I forgot to mention, the tapioca pearls are now almost completely clear. So at that stage, when they're almost completely clear, I add the condensed milk. So when I would ask my mom to make this for me, when I would go home, I would always say, "And Mom, please don't put any sugar in. I don't want any more sugar in." So she would not omit the sugar. But really, if you try to make this and give it a taste and you feel, oh, it could be sweeter, just add sugar. And now what I do is I actually take out the shells of the cardamom pods. So the seeds of the cardamom pods are going to stay in, but those shells are going to be removed. This more spoon. Okay. Let's see if there's any more. There's one. Because that sort of in your mouth is not a pleasant texture. Okay. That looks great. As this cools, it's going to thicken up. So serve it while it's warm, and then if you've made a lot and then there are some leftovers, you can reheat it in a pan. Just add a little bit of milk. That's what my mom would do when she would heat up leftover payasam, and it sort of reconstitutes it and brings it back to this consistency. Okay, there. You know, I'm not doing a good job removing these pods, cardamom pods. Okay, now this goes in, the cashews and the raisins. Ooh, that's hot. It's hot, it's hot, it's hot. My spoon. Okay. And that is payasam. So we need a little bowl. Now, maybe I'll get a bigger spoon. There it is. I admittedly put a little, for this amount of payasam, I put too many cashews in. The cashews should be a garnish, so I should have used, like a third of that amount of cashews. So it's a pudding. It's a warm pudding. It has an unusual, well, to some people, it has an unusual texture. Like people might look at this and think, ooh, it looks like caviar, it looks like fish eggs. Many of my cousins, many cousins, 30 cousins, do not like payasam. They would, when they're offered payasam, they say, ew, no. But I love all of these old traditional foods, and for me, having payasam is like a comforting thing. It's sweet, but it's not overly sweet. And part of the sweetness is when you get a raisin in your mouth, which is what I love. There's like these little bits that pop in and out, like the cashews and the raisins, and there's a really subtle hint of cardamom. It's very important to have that salt in there to bring all of those flavors to life. So if you're not Tamil or you're not Indian, but you're very intrigued by this dessert, try it out. And if you are from this culture and you know about payasam, but you've never made it yourself, do it this way and serve it to your guests that know what it is. And I think they'll be very impressed, because I think this is really the best way to make payasam.